This video will show you how to replace a rear shock on a Ford Edge. This is part of the rear suspension located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the rear wheel is off the ground, and I like to have the suspension hanging. Now once you've done that, if you have a center cover, go ahead and remove that now. Typically you're going to find a slot that you can make your way in between and gently pry. A quick inspection. Once you've done that, remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts and we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our rear shock. Down along the bottom, we have some hardware here. Let's go ahead and spray this with some penetrant. We'll make our way up inside the rear of the passenger compartment. Now once you open your rear lift gate, we're going to make our way to the lower panel. As we lift this up, we're going to carefully start lifting and pulling it out and away. We're removing this. With that out of the way, let's continue on with our plastic trim panel that makes its way along the rearward side. To dislodge this, I'm using a plastic trim tool. You're going to find that there's going to be several locking tabs holding this in. Let's go ahead and lift this up and out of here. Now that I have that lifted, let's just have a quick look along the inboard side. We can see our 4 locking tabs. Go ahead and set that aside. Now I'm working along the driver's side, so I'm going to remove this panel that's along the side of my spare tire. Now we're going to start dislodging our side panel. To do this, as you look down along the bottom, you're going to find that there's 2 plastic push clips. We do not need to fully remove this panel. For this, I'm just using a trim tool. You can use a flat blade screwdriver, gently pry. Now while I start prying this up, I can see that the pin is actually stuck in the plastic. That's okay, so I'm just going to start pulling it away to dislodge it. The pin cannot fall into its corresponding port. We'll make our way towards the next plastic push pin. We're making our way forward. We have another plastic push pin. Pry that up. Slide the panel. Now we're going to take hold of the rearward portion of the plastic panel. What you're going to find is that you do have a rubber weather seal. Let's be careful not to damage the weather seal. We'll just take hold of the panel and attempt to pull it away. Now that I have those 2 pins broken free, I can pull this to the side, but we can only go so far. Let's make our way all the way up towards this area. Now, since I'm on the driver's side, we have our lift arm going all the way up. This has a plastic housing going around it. Keep in mind, you will have a switch as well, so there's going to be an electrical connector. For now, I'm just going to pop this panel out of place using a small trim tool. That should slide out of there. Now along the inboard side, as I mentioned, we do have an electrical connector. The red area that you can see is a locking tab. We'll just carefully pry that out of place. Now once you have that pulled back, there's a locking tab just underneath there. Go ahead and press that in. Typically that can be done by hand. Once you have it disconnected, a quick inspection for corrosion along both sides. This looks good. We'll set the panel aside. Now we can pull on this panel quite a bit. Let's add a spacer to hold this for us while we continue on. Now you can easily make your way down through that port. As we look down, you're going to find that you have insulation. You should be able to pull that out of place. Once you have that removed, we can see the upper hardware for the rear shock. Now, as you can tell, up in this area, we do have a double nut situation. So there's 2 mounting nuts that need to be removed. Now we're using a 15mm for each of these mounting nuts. Now that I've removed the mounting nuts, as I reach down in this area, you're typically going to find that you have a washer with a rubber bushing. Go ahead and remove the pair. At this point, we can pause in the passenger compartment of the vehicle. Let's make our way to the lower portion of the shock. Now down along the bottom of the shock, we have an 18mm headed mounting nut on the outboard side. As you move towards where the bolt head would be, typically you're going to find that this does actually have a small ear that folds over. This is going to prevent this from turning on us. You do not need to hold the bolt head. Let's be aware of any pinch points as we continue on. This could try to spin and potentially hurt us. Just a quick note, this is the last thing holding this rear shock in place. You may find the bolt is stuck in place in the bushing on the lower portion of the shock. You can tap that out of place, use some penetrant if necessary. If you find your mounting bolt is stuck in place, you could use a hammer and punch, or if you have an air hammer, you can use that with a punch bit as well. There's our mounting bolt. Of course, we're going to clean this up. We'll inspect it. For now, I'll set it aside. Now we can take hold of that rear shock. We're going to work this out of position and slide it down and away. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, let's make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. For this, I'm just going to use a wire brush down along here. We'll make sure nothing's rotted or weak in any way. Now let's make our way up to the upper mounting point. For this area, I'm just giving it a quick wipe, a close inspection. Nothing's rotted here. Now, prior to installing the rear shock, we need to make sure we activate it. First, let's rest it down on the floor in between our feet. We're going to press this down as far as possible and remove our protective strap. Now with that out of place, we're going to let this completely expand. After it's expanded, we're going to press it all the way back down again, let it expand, and repeat this process several times. This is going to charge the gas in the shock. Now after this finishes expanding, we can continue on with our installation. Now as we make our way over to the vehicle, in your shock kit, you're going to find that it came with 2 brand new washers. You're going to find that it is concave. We want to have the concave portion facing up. As I slide that on, I'm continuing on with my rubber bushings next. We're only installing one of these. As you look at the rubber bushings, you can tell looking along the center, you have an area that has a smaller diameter and an area that has a larger diameter. The area with the larger diameter is going to be facing towards the body of the vehicle. So with that said, let's take that. We have it aiming straight up. We're going to bring this up and through the port on the body of the vehicle and align it with the lower portion down here, and we'll insert our hardware. Now as I bring that up, I'm going to start aligning the bottom portion of the shock with its lower mounting point. As you can see, my shock is fully expanded. You should be able to compress this, and we'll install the mounting bolt down along the bottom. That comes from the inboard side towards the outboard side. We'll be careful for any pinch points. Outer mounting nut. Now that I have that started on, I'm going to snug it and torque it to 59 foot-pounds. One last quick inspection in this area and we can reinstall our wheel. We'll start on all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. Bottom them out in a crisscross manner, get the wheel safely on the ground, and we'll be torquing each of them to 100 foot-pounds. The wheel is safely on the ground, full weight of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and torque these to that 100 foot-pounds. If you have a center cover, install that now. We'll make sure that the ports on the cover align with our lug nuts. drive it in, make sure it's secure. Now with full weight of the vehicle back down on the ground, let's continue on inside the rear of the passenger compartment. We're starting with our upper bushing. As you remember, in the center we have a larger diameter area. That's going to go up against the body of the vehicle, so in this instance it's facing down. The concave washer will be facing towards the bushing and it's sitting over the stud of the rear shock. Let's go ahead and start on our mounting nut. We'll bottom this out. The torque for this will be 18 foot-pounds. Once you have that on in place, we'll continue on with our jam nut. Now that everything there is fully installed, just one last quick inspection. We can reinstall our installation. Just slide that right over the top there. Now it's time to reinstall the panel. Let's take hold of that panel. We'll remove our small spacer. Start bringing this into position. As for this plastic panel, we're going to start with the forward side. As you remember, there's two plastic push pins that need to be aligned with their corresponding ports. Typically, as you align these, the panel is going to fall down into the port where it needs to be. Double check both of those. Now as we move towards the rearward portion of the panel, you're going to find that there's actually 3 locking tabs in here. There's one up top, one down towards the center, and one down towards the bottom. Those need to be aligned with their corresponding slots on the body of the vehicle, and we should be able to press this in. Now it looks like I have mine aligned, so I'm going to tap this in. Double check to make sure that's secured. Now of course we do have our rubber seal. We're going to make sure that we have that in the proper area. For this I'm just using my plastic trim tool. You can use a flat blade screwdriver if necessary. Just make your way right down along the side of the panel, pulling that seal along the outboard side of it. Since we're on the driver's side, we have our plastic panel. It does have a switch, so we're going to connect in the switch first. As far as this switch, we'll just make sure we have it properly aligned. We're pressing it in. Audible click from that, a light tug, lock it in with the red lock. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Now as we start bringing this into position towards our plastic trim panel, we have this area here along the bottom. This is going to slide in first. After that, you're going to find that you have locking tabs along each side and along the top. We're just going to continue on by pressing this in. Start at the bottom like I said. I have it pressed all the way down. We're aligning the top. This should be able to slide straight through this. Now as I bring it in, I need to make sure it's completely seated all the way around. You can lightly tap on this as necessary. Just double check our seal, make sure that's pressed in there. Just drive that in there. There we go. Slide this into place. At this point, we're done with the specific instructions on the driver's side. Before installing anything else, you always replace shocks as a pair, so go over to the other side of the vehicle and repeat this process. Now it's time for the rearward plastic panel. As you remember, there's 4 locking tabs that need to fit into their corresponding ports. Start bringing this down, we're lining it up. Once it feels as though it's aligned, go ahead and drive it straight down. Double check to make sure that's secure. Let's get our trunk panel in place. Okay friend, at this point we've replaced our rear shocks. The next thing we always like to do is take the vehicle for a road test. You want to listen for any odd noises, and it's a good idea to get yourself in alignment. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.